At a client dinner, my colleague bragged loudly, "Honestly, she just does the paperwork while I seal the deals, she's like an overpaid secretary." I stared at him across the table as he raised his glass and said, "Cheers to being carried, sweetheart." The next day, I scheduled a private meeting with the client, presented my portfolio, and watched his face pale as they pulled the account from him mid-sentence. Hey everyone. I never thought I'd post one of these stories, but the way things played out, I feel like it needs to be told. Maybe it'll help someone else out there who's getting stepped on by someone they trusted. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. Worked at a mid-sized marketing and branding agency downtown for about 5 years. Let's call it Riverstone Marketing. We weren't huge, but we had some pretty big-name clients. It was a good place to build a career if you could handle the backstabbing and the egos. I worked with this guy named Ryan Caldwell. Ryan was what you'd call a people person if you were being polite. Loud, confident, always the first one to jump up and slap someone's back at a meeting. He could talk, sure. But when it came to actually delivering, the deep research, the campaign planning, the follow-through, Ryan didn't have a damn clue. That was my job. At first, we worked well together. He would charm the clients, and I would handle the hard parts that made the promises real. We split commissions and bonuses 50-50ths. It was supposed to be a partnership. Supposed to be. I started noticing little things about a year in. Ryan would show up late to client meetings. He'd make big promises about timelines without checking if they were even possible. I'd be the one staying late to make sure we didn't miss deadlines. When we won awards or praise, Ryan always seemed to be the one taking the microphone to talk about our success, but somehow our always sounded like his. Once, after a big presentation I had built from scratch, Ryan got a standing ovation from the board. Later, at the bar, he joked to the team, "I mean, sure, she does the nerdy stuff, but someone's gotta be the face." People laughed. I laughed too, back then. Tried to brush it off. I shouldn't have. Fast forward to 6 months ago. We had been chasing a huge account, Brookstone Eats, a restaurant chain trying to rebrand itself. If we landed them, it would double our annual revenue. The CEO, CFO, and head of marketing were flying into Cincinnati to meet with us. Dinner was set up at Jeff Ruby's, one of the nicest steakhouses in town. Everything had to be perfect. Ryan showed up already 2 drinks deep. He slapped the CEO on the back like they were old college buddies. Called the CFO big man. Ordered the most expensive bottle of wine before even checking if anyone else wanted it. I kept trying to steer the conversation back to our plans. Show them we weren't just salespeople, we had a real strategy for them. Real numbers. Real future growth. Ryan kept cutting me off. Laughing over me. Correcting me, even when he was wrong. I bit my tongue. I smiled. I even apologized once when he interrupted me, like it was my fault. And then, after dessert, Ryan leaned back, raised his glass, and said loud enough for every single person to hear, "Honestly, she just does the paperwork while I seal the deals. She's like an overpaid secretary." The words hit me like a slap. The whole table froze for a second. Then Ryan, thinking he was hilarious, clinked his glass toward me and added, "Cheers to being carried, sweetheart." The CFO didn't laugh. Neither did the head of marketing. The CEO gave a strained little chuckle and looked away. I smiled too. Small. Polite. Inside, something snapped clean in two. I didn't sleep much that night. I laid there thinking about every late night I had pulled, every weekend I had sacrificed, every time I had covered Ryan's screw-ups. And I decided, enough. The next morning, while Ryan slept off his hangover, I sent an email to the CFO and head of marketing. Very professional. Very calm. I said I'd love to set up a short follow-up meeting to address some specific strategic elements we hadn't had time to go over at dinner. I didn't copy Ryan. They agreed to meet over lunch. Just me and them. I spent the next 4 hours preparing like my life depended on it. I pulled every report, every forecast, every projection. I laid out all the real work that had been done, my work. No jokes. No smiles. No showmanship. Just cold, hard proof. When I walked into that conference room, they were already waiting. At first, they looked a little skeptical. Like they expected me to beg for some crumbs of credit. I didn't. I laid it all out. Clean. Professional. I showed them the marketing strategies that would triple their regional presence. The growth models I had built. The contingency plans. The risk assessments. The pricing models. Every time they asked a question, the kind of question Ryan would normally fumble through with buzzwords, I answered with hard numbers. They listened. They took notes. Then the door banged open. Ryan. Face red. Shirt wrinkled. He stormed in like he owned the place. What the hell is this? You're trying to steal my meeting? The CEO didn't even blink. He turned to Ryan, calm as ice, and said, "You're no longer needed on this account." Ryan laughed. Thought they were joking. The CFO stood up. Shook my hand. Thanked me for my time and my expertise. Ryan just stood there. Mouth opening and closing like a fish. When we got back to the office, it didn't take long. Brookstone Eats sent an official email to our agency leadership saying they would only work with me. And if I left, they'd take their business with them. Ryan was pulled into a private meeting later that day. 3 days later, he was fired. Management said it was a mutual decision, but everyone knew he was pushed out. Hard. Turns out, Brookstone wasn't the only account he had mishandled. Without me patching up his mistakes behind the scenes, he had no leg to stand on. I stayed for another 6 months. Negotiated a fat raise. A better title. Took on Brookstone as my personal client. Eventually, another agency, one that actually respected talent, made me an offer I couldn't refuse. When I left, I took Brookstone with me. And 2 other accounts that had always dealt more with me than Ryan. Ryan? Last I heard, he's bouncing from temp job to temp job. Telling anyone who'll listen that he was sabotaged by jealous coworkers. Funny. He thought I was just a secretary. Turns out, I was the whole damn engine. At first, I thought that would be the end of it. Ryan was gone. I was finally getting the respect I deserved. My new agency, Beacon Strategies, treated me like a real leader. Clients trusted me. My team trusted me. But I should have known, people like Ryan don't just disappear. They get desperate. It started small. One of my newer clients, a mid-sized regional grocery chain, called me one morning. The manager sounded uncomfortable. "Hey, just a heads up, some guy claiming to be your former partner has been reaching out. Said he used to handle your accounts. Wanted to meet." My blood ran cold. Ryan was trying to snake my clients. At first, I thought maybe he was just throwing darts in the dark. I figured if I ignored him, he'd burn himself out. Then one day, I got an email from one of the Brookstone regional managers. Someone I had worked closely with. Attached was a forwarded message. Ryan had been emailing Brookstone executives directly, saying he had insider knowledge about how Beacon Strategies handled accounts. That he could save them from costly mistakes. He even hinted that there were ethical concerns about me. I couldn't believe it. He was trying to smear me. Turning the tables again, I didn't panic. I didn't lash out. Instead, I gathered everything. Every email. Every report. Every message from clients warning me about Ryan's slimy tactics. Then I set a meeting with my boss at Beacon. A real meeting, with HR, legal, and my direct manager. I laid it all out. My boss listened, her face getting tighter with every word. When I was done, she leaned back in her chair and said, "We're going to deal with this. They sent a cease and desist to Ryan that same day. Legal language. Very sharp. Very serious. If he contacted any of our clients again, we'd sue him for defamation, interference, and breach of professional conduct. I thought that would finally end it. I was wrong. The twist, Ryan's desperation. 2 weeks later, I found out Ryan had gotten a job at a tiny startup agency across town. Basically a glorified two-man shop run out of a co-working space. But he wasn't trying to build something new. No, he was going after my old company, Riverstone Marketing. Ryan started feeding them lies. Claiming I had stolen clients. That I had sabotaged Riverstone before I left. That I had violated non-compete agreements. And Riverstone? Instead of laughing him off, they listened. They sent me a letter, an official threat of legal action. The betrayal I didn't expect. The worst part wasn't Ryan. It was someone else. Someone I had trusted, a former coworker named Alyssa, who had stayed behind at Riverstone after I left. I thought Alyssa and I were friends. Turns out, she had been feeding Ryan internal information. Old emails. Client lists. Even personal details about me. All because Ryan promised her a lead strategist title if his new agency ever got off the ground. She sold me out for a fake promotion at a startup that didn't even have an office printer. My next move: I wasn't going to sit back and let them destroy what I built. First, I hired a good lawyer, not cheap, but worth every penny. We drafted a response to Riverstone's threat letter, shredding every claim they made with evidence. Every file I had saved showing that clients had voluntarily moved with me. Every signed document clearing me of any non-compete obligations. Every project plan, timestamped and clean. Then I contacted Brookstone's head of legal myself, quietly, and let them know what was happening. Brookstone's legal team didn't just back me up. They sent their own warning letters to Ryan, Riverstone, and Alyssa. They made it clear. If any of them tried to interfere with Brookstone's business again, they'd see them in court. Riverstone folded fast. Ryan tried to bluster. Alyssa tried to apologize in a cringing email. But it was too late. Where things stand now, Ryan's startup collapsed within 3 months. Riverstone's leadership took a massive hit to their reputation when word got out about how they had mishandled the Brookstone account. As for Alyssa, last I heard, she's working admin at a temp agency. No strategist title. No agency job. I stayed at Beacon Strategies. Built up my portfolio. Trained a real team, one that had each other's backs. The best part? Brookstone renewed their contract with me for another 3 years, at double the original rate. I thought I was finished with revenge. But some people don't know when to quit, and sometimes you have to remind them exactly who they underestimated. Just when I thought things had finally settled, I got a phone call one Friday afternoon. Blocked number. Against my better judgment, I picked up. "You think you won, huh?" It was Ryan. His voice was tight, almost shaking with anger. I could hear him breathing heavy like he was pacing. "You think this is over? You think you're some big shot now? Just wait. You're not the only one who knows how to play dirty." I didn't respond. I didn't give him the satisfaction. I hung up and blocked the number. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. The next week, weird things started happening. First, a fake review popped up on Beacon Strategies' Google page, a nasty review accusing me personally of unprofessional behavior and gross incompetence. It was written under a fake name, but it was obvious who it came from. Then, fake emails started showing up. One of my clients forwarded me a message he got from a burner email address, warning him that I was under investigation for fraud. The lies were sloppy, full of spelling errors, but they could have been damaging if anyone believed them. It was clear, Ryan wasn't trying to take me down legally anymore. He was trying to poison me. Quietly. Slowly. Ruin my reputation from the shadows. I wasn't going to sit back and let it happen. I hired a cyber investigator. Within 2 weeks, he traced the burner emails and fake reviews back to Ryan's IP address. But here's the twist. He wasn't working alone. Guess who was helping him? Alyssa. Even after everything, even after the temp agency job, she was still tied up in Ryan's mess. The investigator even found texts between them, joking about taking her down a peg and making sure she never works in this town again. They thought they were smart. They thought hiding behind fake accounts would protect them. They were wrong. I gathered all the evidence. I didn't just go to Beacon Strategies leadership this time. I went straight to the top. Our CEO. I scheduled a private meeting. Walked in with a file thick enough to crush a small animal. Laid everything out. Emails. IP traces. Screenshots. Timeline breakdowns. The CEO didn't say a word until I finished. Then he leaned back, crossed his arms, and said, "We're going to bury them." And he meant it. Beacon's legal team drafted a full civil lawsuit: harassment, defamation, tortious interference. They didn't just sue Ryan. They sued Alyssa, too. Word spread fast in Cincinnati's business world. Marketing circles aren't that big. Once people heard about the lawsuit, and saw the proof, Ryan and Alyssa became poison. No one would hire them. No one would touch them. Recruiters pulled job offers. Agencies cut ties. People I had never even met started reaching out to me to say they were sorry they ever believed anything different. In the end, Ryan had torched the very city he had built his fake reputation in. All by his own hand. The lawsuits moved fast. Ryan and Alyssa didn't have the money to fight. They didn't even have good lawyers. The court ordered mediation first, but Beacon Strategies wasn't there to make peace. We wanted a full confession. And damages. In mediation, Ryan looked like a ghost. His cocky attitude was gone. His suit was cheap and wrinkled. He didn't even meet my eyes. Alyssa sat next to him, crying silently. No one comforted her. When our lawyers read out all the evidence, the emails, the fake reviews, the burner accounts, the threats, they both cracked fast. Ryan tried to blame Alyssa. Alyssa tried to blame Ryan. They turned on each other like rats. It didn't save them. They were ordered to pay a settlement so big, they'd be carrying that debt for years. Their professional reputations? Ruined beyond repair. They weren't just burned in Cincinnati, word spread through the whole Midwest marketing world. Neither could get hired anywhere legitimate after that. It wasn't all clean for me either. Fighting them had cost me. I spent months under stress. Lost sleep. Burned bridges with some old coworkers who thought I was too harsh even after the truth came out. Not everyone was on my side. Some said I should have just let it go. That I shouldn't have sued. But here's the thing, if you let people walk all over you once, they'll do it again. And again. And again. Ryan thought I was just a secretary. Alyssa thought she could sell me out for a fake title. My old company thought they could turn a blind eye. They all made the same mistake. They thought being quiet meant being weak. It didn't. Ryan left Cincinnati within 6 months. I heard from a friend he moved back in with his parents in Dayton. Word is, he's selling used cars now. Commission only. No salary. No stability. Alyssa filed for bankruptcy. She disappeared from LinkedIn. Last anyone heard, she was waitressing in a suburb an hour away, trying to start over. Riverstone Marketing lost 3 of their top 5 accounts after the scandal. Eventually, they merged into a bigger agency, but everyone knew it was a forced buyout. And me? I stayed at Beacon Strategies. Got promoted again. Now I lead a full team, one that knows real success doesn't come from showboating or stabbing people in the back. I made mistakes too, trusting the wrong people, being too patient, not standing up for myself sooner. But I learned. And I made damn sure that no one would ever mistake me for a secretary again.